I was doing a head count and I only saw 3 people fall asleep, so that is, no. I'm teasing. I did see 3 people sleep, but I'm teasing. All right. Well, this is our Afterburn. This is a part of the service where you get to ask questions, make comments, all relating to the story or the message today. We're going to start here locally with Mr. Craig Lane.
So you had started off, and I think you had made a very good point about how very few of us, if actually any of us, were called to be a disciple. And the story here in Mark with Yeshua, when he cast the demons, the legion of demons, out of the man, and that's the only case in Scripture that I see where the guy, he actually wanted to go with Yeshua, and Yeshua told him no, and told him to go and give those your friends your testimony. And so a lot of times we get hung up with that heroic, thinking that we're the hero or the head of the story, and a lot of times it can be hard for us, especially as men, to know how to handle that in such a way that's not self-degrading, but that's accurate and it's reality. And that, I'm not David, I'm not King David, I'm not gonna, the rock I throw is gonna miss. It's just not what I am, but there is room for me within the story too, and
Amen.
It's so it's certainly one of the things that I struggle with, and I think that's one of the things that's certainly underlooked a lot of times, is that we're not all called to be, that 12 were called for that.
Amen.
After that, we're not so sure. But when we see these stories like with this guy, I think that we could all be pretty sure that that's something that we could do without getting into trouble.
Amen. That's perfect. Rabbi says all the time, you're gifted and talented and given abilities. It may not be this particular job. Those men were called and trained. It doesn't mean that even in this ministry that there are not others that are going to be picked out, chosen by Rabbi and trained. I mean, he's been talking since even before I even got here, going on 3 years now, and about this yeshiva. The yeshiva that we're building is so exciting to know that it's coming. As fast as the state can move and get things done. First is the the congregational building, then it's the food hall, and then it's the yeshiva. And part of Rabbi's vision is to find those. I know many of you have met and have even written sermons, and some of you have even shared them with us. Your time will come. Your time will come. If Rabbi is the anointed appointed, if you trust his process that Abba's given him and the instruction and guidance and leading that Abba's given him, he'll know. And guess what? If Rabbi doesn't know, the only reason he doesn't know is because the Father hasn't told him. So you shouldn't be worrying about if Rabbi recognizes it. You should be worried and concerned if he recognizes it. But if he doesn't recognize a particular role, all of us have a job to do. We read that. All of us have a job. All of us were chosen. All of us were appointed to go bear fruit. Amen. So you got to get in where you fit in and figure out what you can do. What part can you play? What part do you play in the story, as Craig said? So that was really good, Craig. Thank you. Shamash Waffle?
Okay. In the beginning, you had in John 15:1, and so this is just kind of, I guess, a thought more. As he prunes, it wakens us to what needs to be removed, yet some of us want to hold on to what Abba sees as rotten. So if we're so busy holding on to what we're supposed to let go of, how can we reach out and take a hold of what he has for us?
Wow. Because both of your hands are tied and carrying that bag. Rabbi used to say that feelings bag. Y'all remember when he used to talk about the feelings bag? We got one in the office. In case anybody want to go rub on it when they walk past it, we got one feelings bag. That was awesome, Shamash Waffle. Ashley.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I had a realization / question when I was over there. You and Rabbi both say be careful who you hang out with because they rub off on you. I was kind of I flip a lot of things in my head going, well, what if I did it the opposite way? Well, I think when we go through our trials, part of the reason, and this is where I need you to correct me if I'm wrong, part of the reason why we're supposed to cling, cleave, and hold fast is because we're going to rub on to him, but rub on to with the good fruits. Am I right in that?
You rub on to who with the good fruits?
Abba.
He wants
Like
you to,
when we cling, cleave, and hold fast during our trials, and it's not just to stay in, I think it's two parts, not just to stay in him and to get stronger through the trials and have more trust, but when you rub against someone and you hang out with that person or being for so long, you start emulating them. And since I'm cling, cleaving, holding fast, they're trading my negatives for positives from him.
from him, but I would be focused, as I said, on our relationship with him and what the growth he's doing in us. Somebody can be impacted by what you're going through, hopefully in a positive way, but you need to be careful, especially when you're going through something that you're not rubbing up against too many people sharing your...
No, I mean rubbing against Abba.
Well, he's the orchestrator, so yeah, that's fine. I was trying to see how the piece fit in with rubbing against other people.
No, sorry, I was using that example. Instead of rubbing against other people, when you cling, cleave, and hold, that's the rubbing against Abba. And I was wondering if that would be when I cling, cleave, and hold, and when I'm rubbing against him and staying in him and staying with him in all times, is that when I'll start emulating him more because that's all I'm around.
Yes,
Okay.
you'll begin to produce the fruit that comes from the vine that you're connected to. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Miss Melissa, Shabbat Shalom.
I was reading in Jonah this morning, in Jonah, and it says, and Jonah prayed to Yahweh, his Elohim, from the stomach of the fish. And he said, I called to Yahweh because of my distress, and he answered me. From the stomach of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. For you threw me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your breakers and your waves passed over me. So I said, I have been driven away from your eyes. Would I ever look again toward your set-apart Hekel? Waters encompassed me until life. The deep closed around me. Weeds were wrapped around my head. And all of a sudden, Yahweh spoke to me. He said, the weeds, the seaweed, he was in the belly of the fish, which was in Sheol. And my husband used to tell me, hell is a state of mind. It's torment, anger, anxiety, fear, worry. That's a state of mind. It's torment. It's Sheol. He said he was in Sheol, and he wondered if he would ever see him again in his temple. So Yahweh spoke to me. He said, the seaweeds in our life is what is entangled in our mind. Our mind's entangled in all these things, which is a lack of trust. It's rotten fruit, the things of the flesh. What are you dwelling on? We don't trust him. And so many times in my life, I thought, oh my God, I'm going down for the last time. This is it. The water's surrounding me, physically, spiritually, whatever. And I was just wanting to let go so many times. And he said, this is what entangles your mind. And so today when you were talking about the rotten fruit, and that just brought it home for me because, Jonah was rebellious and he ran and he didn't obey him or trust him. So I just thought that I would share that because, that represented everything that, you spoke to me. And so that was juicy. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Amen. Just want to, if Rabbi was out here, he would have said the same thing. Sheol is the grave. For all of you who don't know that, it's not hell. We understand that hell is the life, the world we live in now. Could be for so many people. If you don't get the seaweed off your mind and concentrate on the good fruit and not the bad fruit, you could be in a state of mind that you may think that you're in hell, but Sheol in itself it means the grave. So he was in a desperate place. And I think on a daily basis, when we evaluate and take inventory of our lives, we should always be seeking, are we in a place of humbleness to receive? Part of the fruit of the Spirit, the positive fruit, is patience. There's a lot of negative fruit. And if you realize when we read through there are more negative fruits than there are positive fruits. But the positive fruits will encompass the negatives if you apply them to your life. Because then when trials and tribulation come, because they are coming, have come, going to come again, you'll be able to stand on something. So you need to start producing and understand that the trial that came is a lesson learned. You should be learning lessons. You shouldn't be getting defeated. Though the trial may come to defeat you, may come to overtake you, stand, trust, faith, put all your m.t.o.i in him. And guess what? Even if you fail, you get to take the test again prayerfully. I said in another teaching that I had, you in school, when you fail the grade, you take it again. My concern is that you keep getting back up, that you don't stay down. You may fail, you may fall, but get back up again and keep doing the thing. Many didn't make it, 1.2, whatever it is, but you did. So you keep pressing, you keep trying, you keep doing the best that you can, developing these fruits, so you have something in the end that will remain when the fire comes. Isaiah, sorry, I had a brain fart. Did I say that again? I had a brain misfire.
On live TV.
Shabbat shalom, Isaiah.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you for this teaching.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the life that's in this. You know, when I came here pretty on fire. Yahweh had dealt with so much in my life, and you gave some encouragement about the remaining to stand. I wrote some stuff in my notebook over. I got the yellow type personality, but I wrote when the flood waters rise, keep swimming, and so during Sukkot in Black Mountain, there was so much pressure, and it was like I seen so many people going through it, and I was going through it myself. I had some mishpacha kind of get in my face and yell at me, and because of my personality, I'm so sensitive. I took it pretty personal, and a lot of other things got to me where I let certain parts of my walk. This is the way I viewed it. I let certain parts of my walk kind of just go, gave up, and I was present, but I wasn't really present, And in coming back, I'm back. The Father's got me.
Amen.
And he's been doing all this pruning, real painful pruning. Mm-hmm. But I'm at this point where I'm really thankful for it. And, you probably know personally better than most. The Father would bring me to the life of David, how he just never gave up. Mm-hmm. He didn't give up. And I asked him, well, what is it about him that made him a man after your own heart? I know the details. Mm-hmm. You can read a lot about David, especially in the Chronicles. You see, it's if we use the standard that really was in Christianese more than any real walk, use those standards to measure David's life. You're no, he's a failure. Mm-hmm. Nope, he's a failure. Mm-hmm. But that's not the way the Father saw it. Obviously, he's saying he's a man after my own heart. So I look at his life and I'm wow, and I compared it to mine somewhat because there was a lot of time that went by where David just kind of tried to decorate and conceal his own sin. He tried to hide it, especially with Uriah the Hittite and that whole situation. There was a lot of time that went by because you don't see, it was just it's like a snap of the finger that he had done what he had done with Bathsheba and that, and then the time that it got to the place where the child had already been born at least, because Nathan came and said that this child that was born by her is going to die. It doesn't even say this newborn child. We don't even know. Mm-hmm. We don't really know. We know it was at least 9 months that he just spent kind of just drifting and wandering, and he had to be pruned. But then you see his prayers surrounding that in the Psalms, and it's wow, the way, and he's Father, I don't forget your faithfulness, I don't forget your law and your Torah, and I love all your precepts and your promises. You know, and he does kind of complain about the pressure and the hardship that he understood that the Father was putting him through.
Amen.
You know, so I don't know. I guess this is like the stuff I'm kind of getting as you're talking about the pruning and remaining in him, because I'm greatly encouraged by it.
Amen.
Because sometimes I would be discouraged to see others like advance, you know, but I advance too, and I'm like, well, how am I when I bless others? How am I, or do I bless others when I'm blessed? Rather, is it for my own, you know? And if I do, is it for my own, like, am I tooting my own horn?
Right.
Is it selfish?
Right.
Is it selfish ambition? Because it's the fruit of the flesh.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess just reflections and observations. But I am grateful for this ministry because, again, like you guys have. You've been the only people that have been able to like endure me and counsel me and still, you know, like last night you were talking about like, you're like, look, if it wasn't the Father, I wouldn't even want to hear it. I wouldn't even want to hear it. Like I'd be done. Like you were talking about me.
And 15 other people that we talked to throughout the week.
Yeah.
Actually 2 on the same day. So.
I couldn't help but think you were talking about me, and I don't mind. That's the thing, I don't mind.
Rabbi was talking about you. I was not.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Amen.
You know, because of the Father, his love, it never fails. His loving kindness even says in the word, he never fails. He never stops, and he would have us to have the same heart.
Amen.
And you know, what I see about all of this pruning and coming through all this stuff is that the things that are in him, that I've even had before in him, they remain.
Amen.
While everything else is kind of, you know, all this other thing that I thought that I could build is falling apart and falling off.
Amen.
So all I could do now is just turn and be grateful. It's okay to lose some things along the way.
Come on.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Awesome. Absolutely. You know, if we change our mindset, which we try to do a lot in counseling, just try to get you to see whatever you're going through from another angle, you'll realize that it's not as bad as you think it is. And it's not because we're not in it. I mainly say it because I've been through worse and I'm still here. I say it because I've seen death at least 3 times and I'm still standing before you. I was supposed to be paralyzed from my neck down, not to walk again from a car accident. And I'm here. I'm still walking. And I'm not paralyzed. So my m.t.o.i in him, I know he can do all things but fail because he's done it for me. So I can stand with you when you go through your trials. We can stand with you. Rabbi's been through some stuff as well. Many of your brothers and sisters that are sitting beside you have been through some stuff. But we can hold each other's arms up. This ministry can help hold your arms up. We tell a lot of people we're your safety net if you utilize it. Doesn't mean you won't get everything you want, but you will get everything that you need. You got to stay in him, stay connected. So the things that you have left, when you got rid of all you and you come for counseling, when all of you is gone, usually that's when you go in the crying corner because you're just overwhelmed with the humbleness or the gentleness that Rabbi displays or the love that we have for you, that we would take the time to listen to whatever story you have. And yes, sometimes Rabbi will just attack what he sees. And it's amazing. Sometimes he'll see it and recognize it before you even open your mouth. I'm just like, this Dr. Strange, Superman type rabbi. I mean, he quick. He sharp. He get all in them places. Look. I'll be counseling somebody. I get through counseling, the rabbi come in and add a whole nother level, 2, 3 levels. They call, I said, yes, I need help with this. They give me the question, I give them the answer. Before I can hang up, Rabbi came in, well, wait, I heard. He'll walk in the office. He said, you need to do this, and this, because if this doesn't work, and this happens, and this thing, and I look at him, I just shake my head. I just, like he told you last night, I just step over to the side, because my phone is over here on my desk. So if I'm answering the phone, I'm usually standing up. I stand up most of the day. So the phone is there, and then he comes in, and he's usually on this side of the desk, and then he'll walk around as he's making his surgical moves. He'll walk around, and he'll come around, and I just step out the way. He'll go behind me, and I'll just step out the way, and then he goes in there and does surgery. And this is all on the days he said he's not counseling. Well, he didn't say he ain't counseling. He's doing other things. He'll hear it. He'll come in there. He'll do a surgery. And they say, okay. The person, he's like, is that good? The person's like, okay. He says, all right. He pat me on the shoulder, and then he walks out. Go ahead. It's awesome. Do you know all the counselings that I sit in, I'm getting counseled? All the counselings I sit in with you guys, I'm getting counseled. So that way, when you require it of me, I have his answer. Not my own answer. You'll never hear my answer unless it's an answer that he's given me permission to answer. You'll hear his answer. Shouldn't it be that way with him? That we should be ready to give his answer, not our answer. Because I told you last night, my answer would be, get out. Ain't no I got time. I ain't worried. I ain't worried. You go ahead and take your little non-listening self, you go talk to somebody. I'm just being honest. That's how I feel sometimes. Come on, we all felt that way. Don't think because we're in ministry we can't feel that way. Sometimes y'all get on our last nerve. Miss Marlene came yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, and she said, I know I get on your nerve. I said, you don't get on my nerve. She said, I get on your nerve. I said, I get on your nerve. She never told me if I did or not. She was keeping that to herself. But I'm sure I do. Because the elephant never forgets. It's an inside joke. Exciting times. Anyway, Marlene is great. Mr. Mayor.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I wanted to take a minute to be vulnerable. Since you did such a fabulous job at preparing the ground for the word. I look at Rabbi as the one that helps cut away, like the ninja, cut away the nonsense, help me cut away the nonsense, because I can get stuck in that rut where I'm not seeing it, I'm looking at it the wrong way, and I'm over-exaggerating it with my blue. I'm having a blue out, and then I look at you, and I'm so grateful for Chantel because I didn't know the story that she was drawn out before you were. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful for your wife because you have been a blessing to us. Amen. And I felt like when you started your worship, like I just started crying, but I didn't know why. I just think that it helps to cut through the darkness that sometimes in the hardness that we allow ourselves to get stuck in. And I'm thankful for that. I'm trying to stop crying.
All right.
So, because some of this that I wanted to share was my terrible mindset and way of thinking. Because when I found this, and we found this ministry, we were so thankful to find like-minded people that we could have Shabbat with. And even though we were in Florida and live streaming it, we just felt like we were here. Mm-hmm. And just how we were accepted. And then we began the journey of getting here. And that was a long journey. A lot longer than I expected, and it wasn't perfect, and I wanted it to be perfect, and I wouldn't allow the flexibility, and so I came against the things that were in this process, and I had the terrible mindset. I was bitter, I was angry, I took a lot of it out on my husband, and unfortunately for him, but it was the pruning. And when we got here and we lost a lot of friends that left the ministry, as soon as we got to the point we could be here every Shabbat, there was some chaos. But I was brokenhearted. I felt like my family, but I didn't allow myself to realize that it was the past, my being abandoned and the rejection as a child and my family life that led me to that, and I associated it with that. And so it was painful again. And then the bitterness just kept building on, but I didn't realize that it was a pruning process, that there was nonsense that needed to be pruned from our lives to keep us going in the right direction. So that we're not stuck in that tube, just partying.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we were just partying.
Wild party.
Wild partying. Consuming a whole bottle of whiskey partying. And it's not very good for me because, I have family members that struggle with alcohol. And when they're exposed to it, that disrupts my family life. It disrupts people. That's another story. So I was very hard, and I didn't realize it until today. That when you were speaking, you were talking about your message, and then I had the revelation. I'm like, this is why it happened, because you needed to be pruned from these friends and these, even though it felt like family, they weren't going in the right direction. I mean, you were on this journey, but they're stuck here, and you needed to get to the egg, I guess, if we're staying in that sort. So, and then you said something about, like, sometimes when you have something and people, they look at you like, ooh, I'd like to have that. Sometimes people look at my husband and I, and they're like, oh, they're so sweet, and they love each other. I'm going to tell you right now, and you can ask that man back there, you don't ever want to walk what we walk through. You don't ever want to endure what that man did for me. And that he, in front of you guys, and God and everybody, will put you in your place too. If you ask him the wrong question. If you ask him a question that offends him or makes it sound like, you are putting me down for what the mistakes I've made, he will let you know. He is my protector.
Amen. Amen. That's awesome.
So if you see me smiling because his arms are wrapped around me, because there's joy, more joy than I can tell you. Because there's someone that loves you that much, to go through that much, and still look at me the way he does.
Amen.
But at the same time, you don't want to go through what we went through. Trust me, just trust me. And so I once had this friend, when I first started this walk, I'm sorry I'm taking so long.
It's all right.
I first started this walk, and there was a lady who was Messianic, and I made myself vulnerable enough that I actually shared some of the details with her. And she looked at me and said, I don't think my husband would ever forgive me for that. And of course, you guys know that I have an abrasive side sometimes, and it just came out. And I said, well, sweetheart, I'm so sorry he doesn't love you that much.
Amen.
So I know that was kind of a little vindictive, but she really cut me with my own testimony. And that's why we don't share everything, because we don't know who's going to receive it, who's going to judge it, because honestly, we don't care what your opinion is. I mean, seriously, I don't care. Rob definitely doesn't care. He's red. So anyway, the other thing that you reminded me of when you was talking about the rotten fruit and dragging it around, it reminds me of how Rob's got this compost going, and he's so proud. And he goes out there, he turns it, and he's creating fertilized soil that will be used this spring to plant and grow our vegetables. So it doesn't matter if it's rotten or stinky right now.
Amen.
If you will just give it some time and let Yahweh turn it around.
Come on.
I know, I feel like I'm preaching.
Go ahead. You better say it.
You could become the next fertilizer that could help grow a new garden. So, again, I just wanted to tell you thank you.
You're welcome.
You inspired me. You have helped me. Yahweh's words have pierced me. And I hope I haven't offended anyone. Thank you.
Ah, man. He takes the ordinary and he adds the word extra to it to describe himself as being extraordinary, extraordinary, extraordinary. And it's those extraordinary moments that he shows up in our lives at different points to remind us that he's there and that he cares. He didn't leave you. He didn't forsake you. He was allowing you some space so you can recognize the fact that he's still there. I was telling my son Zion yesterday morning, I said, Zion, I apologize to you if you think I'm being hard on you. Not that I'm very hard on him, but I can be. I am a dad, you know. I'm not very hard. Can be, but I wasn't. I said, I don't want you to think I'm hard on you, but you're 16. And when you turn 18, from going to Rabbi's Level Up class, I got some new understanding, and I said, you should be preparing that when you get 18, not that you have to move out, but you should have all those things lined up so when you hit 18, you're ready to move out if need be. So I'm not planning on going anywhere, but if Abba calls me, my job as a parent is to help you to survive and live and be able to take care of yourself without me. So I need you to take these lessons as lessons learned. So now I've allowed you some space to be able to fall in the pit. But I was there watching you fall in the pit. And I wanted you to struggle a little bit. So when I helped you out of the pit, you can remember the next time you get close to the edge and you decide that you're going to dip your toe in. I may not be there to pull you out. So sometimes Abba allows us to go through situations in our life and allows us to struggle a little bit. Because struggling brings forth the strength you need to get to the next level. A lot of you want to go and cut the caterpillar out of the cocoon. If you don't know what happens, you see a cocoon and the caterpillar and poke the little head out, because it was a caterpillar when it went in. He's poking his little head out because he's trying to come out, and you so nice and you so wonderful, and you like to help. And so the story goes, a man came and he took some scissors out of his pocket and he cut the hole so the caterpillar butterfly could get out the cocoon because it was struggling. It was time for it to get out and spread his wings. And so the man came along and he cut the little hole so the butterfly could get out. And when he cut it out, the butterfly came out and his wings was all crippled up and wrinkled up. The butterfly fell to the ground and died. That would happen, Isaiah, that would happen. It died because through the struggle of getting out of that little hole, Abba designed it to give it the blood flow needed to strengthen its wings so when it got through on its own, because Abba provided the hole, right? He would get the strength he needed to begin to fly. So a lot of us as parents, we're going to cut the hole because it's our babies. I told my own mama, because I got younger brothers, I'm the oldest boy, I got two brothers below me, and a sister, and I got an older sister, but two brothers and a sister below me. I said, Ma, if you don't allow them, if you keep enabling them to become who they are, they'll never grow. Their growth will be stunted. If you keep rescuing them out of every situation in their life, they'll never learn to take responsibility for the choices they make because you're too busy running being mamas, saving them for everything. You ain't saving them for nothing. You're making it difficult for them to adult because you then went and rescued them out of every situation that Abba ordained or created or put them in or caused or allowed for them to grow. You've then thwarted the process. Is that a real word, Caleb? That's a real word? Thwarted? That I knew it was. So parents, be careful. Let the kids struggle a little bit. I ain't say let them die. I just say let them struggle a little bit. Some of y'all wait a little too long. Little children come out with water heads. They done fell in the pool. They ain't little water head baby. Be there. My baby knows she's 21. She's about to be 22 this year. And I was explaining to Zion. I said, Hannah hadn't had the opportunity that you've had because me and her mom got divorced years ago, so she didn't have the opportunity to be with me like Zion has been with me his entire life. Sahara and Judah have been with me his entire life. My oldest three have not. So I said they missed out on some things in life that I, as a father, could provide and could give them and could instill in them so they could grow with that influence of a dad. Because dads, we give something that mamas can't give. And mamas give stuff, a whole lot of stuff daddies can't give. I can hold you and rock you and all that. I can't give you that hug my wife give you. I can't. I'm trying to figure out how she does it. She got a magical hug. We don't believe in magic. She got a special hug. I think the anointment is hidden in that hug. Yeah, well, that is true. This is true. Thank you. But let them struggle a little bit. But let your babies know that they're special. I tell my son, you a king. Teaching you how to be a king. I want you to be a king, and I want you to rule and reign. I want you to learn how to operate the kingdom. You're the king, you take care of the people that's not, I ain't gonna call them peasants, Mercy. Or was that Brandy? One of them used that word. Talking about peasants. I want you to be the greatest servant. If you're the king, you should be the greatest servant. You shouldn't be the one always looking to get served. You should be the one serving. You know, back in the day, the kings, the real kings, they went out first in battle. Now they just sit behind the desk and tell other people go ahead and do whatever they do. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. I don't remember what part it went with, but don't stunt your children's growth or maybe even your spouse's growth by trying to rescue them out of something they need to get through. Wives, leave your husband alone. Stop getting on his last nerve. He only had one. And it was you. No, I'm kidding. He gonna struggle. Stop trying to rescue him all the time. Ask him, what does he need? Because when I'm having a fit and you coming to add your fit to my fit, I don't need your fit. Because my wife don't bring it. She already learned. She ain't gonna bring it. She said, baby, just let me know what you need. You need anything? You all right? And she wait till I calm down after I had 3 fits of rage. Then she come and just swallow me up in them arms. She just swallow me up. So I know what y'all mean, ladies, that to get the hug from my wife. I know, I do. I tap out. I can't do it. I can't hold it. She squeezed me. That's my baby. All right, Michael, what you got?
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So while we're reading this, I'm thinking about just like if you're a gardener and you have a grapevine, you're trying to grow that vine so that it is what you want it to be. And in the process of that, you do have to prune it so that it'll produce more fruit. And the branch doesn't get a choice. The little branch doesn't get a choice. And certainly the individual piece of fruit doesn't get a choice. You just do what you do. And so the Father's doing that with us. We don't get a choice. We don't get a choice what gets pruned out of our lives. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Because he knows what's best, and he knows which branch, which vine to prune at which time. So that we can grow stronger and grow to be better fruit, bigger fruit, more fruit, and fruit that remains.
Amen.
Hallelujah. But also, one of the things that hit me right in the beginning of this and stuck with me the whole time that you were teaching was really an admonishment for me, and I was inspired to come up here and give it to anybody else who might need it. Do not take this walk nonchalantly. Stop taking this walk so nonchalantly. Run the race to win. Just like when I was in the Army and we're doing PT, we're ramping up PT to get ready for deployment, and we go on run every day, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10-mile run every day. You know, you run and you run and you run until you can't run anymore, and then you throw up and you keep running while you're throwing up, and then you keep running after that because you can't stop.
Amen.
Because that's the only way that you're going to get there. When you get that lightheaded feeling and you can't feel your legs anymore and you keep moving and you just keep doing and keep doing, and eventually you get to where you're supposed to be and you're like, That was fast. No, it wasn't. It was like 2 hours. But it felt fast because after you got to that point where you hit that runner's high, time disappeared.
Ah, man.
That's what happened.
Ah,
and that's what
man.
we're trying to do. We need to get the time of our lives to disappear because we are in such a place for him. Because we're growing and we're trying to get there and we're trying to run the race to win and just doing all we can do to not take this walk so nonchalantly.
Amen. Amen. Great job. You know, we always say, heard my whole life, he knows how much we can bear. He won't put more on us than we can bear. I don't know, maybe I know why. I think about things differently. And I think the reason I think about things so differently is because I'm not afraid of death. I've said that before, but I'm not afraid of dying. When it's my time, it's my time. So each day I'm living, preparing, if it happens. If Yeshua tarries and I see the grave, I'm prepared. I'm not afraid. But the reason I'm not afraid, most people don't understand about fear. The reason I'm not afraid is because I know he has it all under control. My trust is him, not in him. When you grow to a place where your trust is him, it doesn't matter what the end looks like. Doesn't matter. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Is that a song? I made it one. Okay. All right. Don't be afraid. All right. Do not be afraid. Where Brianna? Be strong and courageous. Do not be. All right, Eduardo. I'm sorry.
Elder Billy, thank you for all your efforts in putting this together today for us. Your journey took us to the prophets today, to Yirmiyahu 17. You highlighted, blessed is the man who trusts in Yahweh and whose trust is Yahweh, right? I was reading a little beneath that, and verse 9 talks about the heart is crooked above all and desperately sick. Who shall know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the kidneys and give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. I'm reading that, and I'm like, wow, that's our deeds, our ways, right? Like, and how do we overcome a crooked heart? To not let our what we receive, be based on our crooked deeds or crooked ways, right? And so it's concerning. So you read a little beneath that, though, in verse 14, the prophet Yirmiyahu talks about asking Yahweh for healing, right? And heal me, O Yahweh, so that I may be healed. Save me, so that I may be saved. Save me from this crooked heart, right? And
Amen.
And he's Yahweh Rapha, right? He's healer. So. My question is, how do we overcome a crooked heart? I'm sure part of that is written there, right? Pray for healing, pray for salvation from our crookedness, but it's needed because, as it's written, our heart is crooked.
Right. I think one of the biggest things goes back to a mindset. You got to be determined and believe that you want it to be fixed. First, you do what you're supposed to do. You start gathering the fruit. You start counseling. Trusting the process, staying in him. But you got to first acknowledge that you can be free. You don't have to have a crooked heart. Your heart is crooked because your heart doesn't have enough truth. So it's your flesh. You got more flesh than you got him. More of you, less of him. So you want more of him and less of you. Because he can fix all things. He says in the scripture. We believe it. You got to believe that he is. Because if you have a crooked heart, it's because it's yours. We want to be like David. We want to be, as Michael said, a man after Yahweh's own heart, and Isaiah said it as well. So we want to be after his heart. We want his heart, because our heart is crooked. It's wicked. Because our heart is guided by our flesh, which wants what it wants. The wild parties and the drunkenness and all the rest of the nonsense it wants. But his heart is that you would be with him forever and ever. And so we got to trade in our dirty heart. That has to be an act of will. Because he's not going to do it for you. I know we've all heard, and I'll bring it into church, that he's going to do it. He's going to do something for us. That's one of the reasons that made me look when my wife got her bubble pop, I said, you know what? Even the demons believe. So the only thing I got to hold on to is my faith, my belief that if I confess with my mouth that he was risen from the dead, then I shall be saved. Saved from what? I need to be saved from myself. And I don't know how to be saved from myself because I ain't had nobody to tell me until I got here how to walk it out. It's more than just belief. Belief by work, because they just skip that. They just, the church, they don't like James. That's part of the theology teaching. You just skip right over that because works is bad. But they ain't telling you all the works that you're doing on your own in your flesh bad. All the ones that was listed, all them works bad. You doing all these works you think is good because you don't think nobody see the bad stuff that's inside of you. And then you get to the end, he said, I don't know you. You did it all in my name. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. But I don't know you. I don't. Who knocked at the door? Who is it? Hello. Who is you? I've been filing m.t.o.i for 17 years when the phone rang. I said 17 years. Ain't no m.t.o.i 17 years. Rabbi been doing this over 20 years. Ain't no m.t.o.i 17. I've been watching y'all live stream. Said we ain't even been on live stream 17 years. People just calling up lying for no reason. That's that crooked heart. That's the flesh. Because usually that's followed by, can I have some money? Can you help me with a need? Well, first you got to know who I am. He's just saying, I'm m.t.o.i, I'm m.t.o.i, I'm m.t.o.i. That's like we get before him and I'm a believer, I'm a believer, I'm a believer. I did all this, I did all that. I asked somebody, I said, you asking from us, from the ministry for something, what have you done for the ministry? I'm not looking at tithes and offering, I'm not looking at any of that. What have you done? Not just physically, but what have you done for the ministry? You're asking to receive. Have you given? Have you given a kind word? Have you helped Miss Dawn get to her car? I didn't see his Dax. They not down here yet. But little Dax, I done seen him go out. I've seen Jason go out and help Miss Dawn get to her car. She ain't asked nobody to help her get to her car. I've seen Sean Gary do it, different ones. She ain't asked nobody. And she not stubborn. She just sweet and knows she can do it by herself. But many of you gone to help. And we need to be looking at that. That is an observation of your heart's condition. Is it about you? Is it about me? So I told y'all, I don't know if I told y'all, somebody sent in an email telling me they thought I was sick because I had more gray hair than they saw the week before. And I said, I just let it grow out. I missed a barber appointment. I'm not feeling sick. Do I look sick, Miss Becky? I don't look sick. Thank you. I don't feel sick. So I shaved for you. Shaved my head. I didn't get too low though. So anyway, it's not shining as much. Oh Lord, it's shining. Shabbat shalom, Miss. I done forgot your real name because Miss Heather.
I know what you're going to chicken dip.
Yeah, I was going to say it. But your husband watching, I can't tease you on live
That's
stream.
okay. He knows it's teasing. Thank you. It's a really great teaching. We're very, very, very blessed to have you. And under Rabbi, we trust Rabbi with the teachings that he gives us. And, you are like an extra special sweetness to this walk, man. And what you can bring also.
I'm not sweet, though.
You're sweet.
Oh, okay.
I was going to kind of piggyback off of what Michael was actually saying, because I was sitting here thinking, there's a lot of times I sit down and think like, oh, I'm going to go up to the mic, and I get nervous, and it's like, okay, just go, because he just like, Yahweh would not let me let it out of my head. But I was actually sitting there thinking, the Condons would know what I'm talking about because we're from the same area in Michigan. And in Michigan, well, first of all, I want to say, I love how, Yahweh gives us these visual pictures, real world scenarios and real world pictures so that we can better understand what he's saying. And there's a lot that we don't have access to. There's people that live in cities and apartments, and they don't know what a fruit tree looks like or see it in the different seasons. But in Michigan, we were very fortunate. We are surrounded by apple orchards everywhere, and grapevines, vineyards everywhere. It's really good soil, and the Great Lakes have just like this special water. It's pretty cool. So we see these things, and we have this visual picture. On our property in Michigan, we had 2 types of trees. There's 3 types of trees. You have your ornamental apple trees, and then you have your wild apple trees, and then you have your pruned trees, really. So we have this one ornamental apple tree, and when my husband was putting it in, it's the perfect shape, beautiful, perfect shape. The trunk was crooked. I remember when he was having it set, he had it on a crane, and I was in the kitchen, and he's like, "You like it like this?" I'm like, "No," because from my view, I could see the trunk go like that. I'm like, "No, if you turn it that way," it didn't straighten out the trunk, but my view, it was straight. So the only purpose, really, it served was ornamental. I mean, it would produce fruit, but nothing worthy, right? It was just for good looks. So there's a lot of trees out there that really, really look beautiful on the outside, but like the fruit is pretty worthless. We can all be there, there's stages of our growth too,
Amen.
And then, so that ornamental tree, if it's not pruned and taken care of properly, it's just going to grow into a wild apple tree. That is the ugliest thing probably that anybody would ever see, is a wild apple tree. We have wild apple trees on our property that are probably, seriously, 150 years old. Wow. The trunks are probably about 1.5 to 2 feet wide, and they're knotty and gnarly. The trees are extremely tall. It produces fruit, but they're tiny, and they're unattainable. They're all at the very top. We have other trees where those wild apple trees, they produce so much fruit, but they're just so useless. They actually break the branches. Wow. And then you have this ugly, awful, ugly-looking tree with broken branches, and then those broken branches, they'll be hollow on the inside. That isn't a picture. Wow. Completely hollow on the inside. And then the broken branches, hollowed out, will grab root and still grow more ugly fruit. Like it's like cryptic almost to see these hollowed out awful trees. That's what happens when they're not being pruned. You have this really pretty thing that turns into a really ugly thing. It's useless. Wow. And scary. Then we have all these other orchards, and you drive by them, and in this time of year, they don't look so good. They've been pruned. They've been tendered and cared for. Without any leaves on it, they don't look that good either, actually. Like visually, they don't look good. But then when the spring comes, the fruit comes, and the leaves come, and then they do look beautiful. And the fruit is big and attainable. You can reach it. Wow. And it's funny, when you grab onto that fruit, you gotta pull it off like that. The other ones, the little apples, like you brush by it and they'll fall off. Like there's so much. The visual picture there is so great because the fruit is big, it's attainable, it's delicious, it's worthy, and it's held tight to the branch. Amen. And the branches, the root gets thicker and the branches get thicker. Oh, and another thing, when you prune the apple trees, all the shoots grow straight up. Wow. So you have this apple tree that it doesn't look good being pruned, because it doesn't look good. Like us getting pruned, it doesn't look good. You take this it looks good on the outside, this beautiful tree, and then you start cutting away, and you're left with this, and you're like, what the heck happened? But then when the spring comes, like all the new growth grows straight up. And then the fruit from that is worthy.
Oh, man.
So, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to send out that visual picture because Yahweh doesn't use these, visuals for no reason.
Amen.
So.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Chris, you're going to be our last one because we got to get to live stream. I left them stranded. I know they have something to say.
Okay. I was going to add to that because as a part two, because I my first job ever, I was 16, and it was at an orchard in Washington State, where all the apples come from. I worked at that orchard, and I hated it after because, I didn't get a job for, years after that because that was my first job, and I thought, this is so hard because, what you were talking about with the fruit remaining, so we had apricot trees or peach trees, and at that time it was July, I think, and one of my jobs to do was to pick up all the apricots or peaches that had fallen to the ground that were across the tree. And I guess it might have been just because we had so many of the trees at the orchard, but it was a task. It took, I don't know how long exactly, but it took probably an hour at least to get all of it off the ground because it was all bad, and it didn't look like it was all terrible, but I guess it didn't stink. It was a very early degradation, but if they fall off first, they're not supposed to fall like that. They're supposed to stay on the tree. And then the other thing was with cherry trees. When I was in charge of directing the customers to go this tree, that tree, and whatever cherry tree, they had different types, and there was no way to tell which tree was which tree and which had good fruit, which was bad. So they actually painted a white paint, I guess, around the whole trunk of the tree. Tell you. So I would go to the customer and I'd be like, this customer to the group, I'd be like, this one you can go to, this one you don't, and because these ones are not ready yet, or these ones are. So I thought that was just adding to that because I was when she came up, I thought, I also have something of an experience with it that other people might not know or understand. So
thank you. All right, live stream. I'm sorry. I kind of forgot about you, but I'm sorry.
It's okay. You might answer these quick. Well, I only have 4, Elder. Okay. Sandra L., how can we know for sure that we are connected and not just thinking we are?
Are you doing what he said do? Are you obeying his commands? Are you striving to get these fruits present in your life and get rid of the ones that you're not supposed to have? So you should start there. Get counsel, as Rabbi added. All right, what you got next?
Pamela Schuford, Galatians 5:23. Against such there is no Torah. What does this mean?
That means if you're not doing what the word says, the Torah is useless to you unless you do it. It's of nothing to you unless you do it. It's lawlessness.
Okay, from Gian Jordan, says, you spoke quitting. At what point do you know it's not quitting, but simply time to walk away when the situation feels/seems wrong?
That's when you're calling it counsel, because it really depends on the situation, the person, the circumstance. There's no general answer for that. The general answer is get counsel. We can help you figure that out. Usually Rabbi does it in seconds. You got one more?
Okay, last one. From First Love says, how, when life is crazy all around me, do I receive the fruits when life is so crazy, especially family issues, can't get past the anger and others? And then she continued on, life tied in knots and getting tighter. I can't leave the sick and disabled. And you have stirred in me the hell I'm living, Brother Elder Billy.
I don't mean to laugh, but it sounds like there's a major boundary issue in that story. Boundary issue and you staying connected that also leads to counseling. I'm not saying it because I'm promoting counseling, but you need counsel. And just from the many things that you have going on, it sounds like a boundary issue, right?
Okay, put my mic on. There we go. You want me to do what I do when you're on the phone?
Yes, show them what you do.
All right, put the question back up on the screen. All right, how, when life is crazy all around me, do I receive the fruits when life is... Okay, first of all, you're missing the point. You don't receive the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5. These are things that you exhibit when you're ruach connected, when you're connected in understanding how you're supposed to be, the state of being, right? The spirit of something is its intrinsic nature. When your intrinsic nature matches his intrinsic nature, you can have love of an enemy or for an enemy. You can have joy in a trial. Because people are saying, well, life is so crazy, how can I have these things? No, it's when it's so crazy that you must have these things, but you can't have them unless you're vertically connected. Okay, so you have to make the connection vertically in order to have them. So yes, that's the whole point. Anybody can have the Galatians 5:23 things when life is wonderful. It's when it's not that you can't be patient or gentle or meek or long-suffering, or kind, or have joy and love and peace. These things are hard to do when things are not right. Yes, it's especially hard when it's family issues. Especially hard because then you can't get past the anger and others, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's stuff that needs counsel. You have a problem that needs fixing. And we have to do the surgery to kind of cut down to what's causing the anger. That's what you would counsel. All right? So I want you to know, a lot of people, so whoever wrote this, first love Yah, okay, that is a common question though. How can I have the fruit when? No, you have to have the fruit no matter what. If you're connected, you can do it. If you're not, you can't. So when that person who asked earlier, how do I know I'm connected? Well, when you can love your enemy, when you have joy in a trial, when you have peace when everything else around you is no peace, when you have patience in the midst of things that would try anybody's patience. This is how you know you're connected. Because the fruit is there. It's the fruit that remains, as he says, okay? Now put back the other one about Galatians, which had to do with the previous one. About there's no Torah. Okay, I think it was something about that.
Yeah, they would just want to know what that meant.
Okay, so what it means is that, people want to say, oh, well, there's a law against this and a law against that, and there's a law or instruction against this or instruction. There's no instruction against love, joy, peace, patience. So stop trying to find, in other words, an excuse not to have it. Okay? In other words, there's no law that justifies you losing those things. So you should be able to have them all the time because there's no situation that the law or instruction from above would say, except under these circumstances. Does that help? Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. All right, because that one can be a little bit tough because it says, why would it say against such there is no Torah? Well, there isn't a law against having the fruit. There also isn't any law that says that when this is going on, you don't have to have the fruit. You must have this fruit except. That's why we hear these extreme things like Yeshua saying, you must love your enemy. What? That's about as extreme as it gets to challenge the idea of love. James tells us to have joy in a trial. Are you kidding me? Joy in a trial? How's that even possible? Well, it is if you're connected vertically. Because that's the fruit that goes through the trial and still comes out the other side, and you still have joy. And you're thinking, man, that's hard. Yeah, it is. If you try to do it on your strength, if you try to do it on what you know, but you have to connect yourself vertically. And I'm not saying he'll do it for you. It's your relationship with him that will generate what you need. Amen. Okay? And that's what you need to do. Does that help, hopefully, for everybody? All right, good. I have to say, it was interesting. I came in just during the end of the Q&A, and I went to the back of the room. I'm thinking, I was about to walk up like I do in his office. I didn't want to do that. But that's one of those things that, it's tough. And this is a hard thing that he's, and he knows this too. It's not easy to be up here and just take any question anybody could throw at you. It's also not easy when you're hungry to listen to all these stories about the apple trees. So, and by the way, I have complete empathy for you, Chris, that you spent a whole hour cleaning up something. That was awful. It took you an hour. I was almost crying about it in the back. I really was. All right. That's going to do it. Is that any more over there, live stream? We good?
We're good.
All right. Well, excellent job by Elder Miller.
Thank you.